Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lucore Automotive, except we are not at Lucore Automotive. We are at McVay Motorsports in the middle of nowhere. Hopefully, it's called Social Media Prayer Warriors. Hopefully, this is the final dyno day for the 400 Big Block 451 Stroker. Lots of parts have been changed around and lots of issues. If you have been following all the previous videos, if you have not, I urge you to go back, go watch those previous videos, because this is what has got us to this point now. So, lots of changes and frustration and headache, and it's just been so anticlimactic at this point. So, we're gonna fire this up, and hopefully we're gonna make some America sounds, and it's gonna sound angry and mean, and we're gonna love it, and it's gonna get us the numbers that we want.
As you can see, we have 73ChargerChic herself here today to be able to enjoy the, as she says, the America sounds. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? So in the previous video, you saw all kinds of issues. Quick little recap for those who don't really remember it. 400 cubic inch Big Block Mopar, 451 stroker kit. So it's a 440 crank, 440 rods, Icon Ford's pistons sitting on top. Should be a good little spinning rotating assembly. Should spin to 6,500 RPMs without a problem. Except this one just wouldn't. It would get to like 4,200 RPMs and just not go anywhere. It would either just refuse to rev, flat out refuse to rev, or it would rev, but it wouldn't make any more power. It would just table off and then fall. So that's why we are back here at McVay Automotive, is the original engine builders could not / would not fix this issue. And Bob McVay was generous enough to give us a lot of his life to be able to figure out exactly what in the world was going on with our Big Block Mopar project. And the answer was, well, really two different things. One, the combination of lift on the camshaft with the 1.6 rockers that are in this were giving us too much lift, and we were actually hitting coil bind, which was causing all sorts of issues. It was initially the camshaft was spec'd out on a 1.5 rocker setup. With the 1.6, it just ended up being too much lift. We were hitting coil bind at 543 lift, which was literally right where we were hitting with camshaft. So it was not ideal. Anyway, so that was one of our problems. The other problem we were running into was the fact that compression was actually considerably lower than what we were hoping for. When it was running on the cast iron heads, the Motorhome Heads, the idea was it was going to run about 9.5 to 1 compression. That's a pretty reasonably safe number for cast iron heads. Still leaves you some safety room, but it's aggressive enough that it's going to run on premium gas only, and it should make some pretty good power. Well, unfortunately, our previous builder missed that target by a pretty decent amount. We had no way of figuring that out until we unfortunately took the heads off the motor and measured how far down in the hole it was, how much of a pocket we had on the pistons, and what the CC chamber on the combustion chambers on these heads were, or on those heads were. And the answer was they were 92 cc's, which is way too big. Apparently he didn't cut down any of the meat off the heads, and the piston was still sitting in the hole. So between those two issues, we ended up at like 8.8 to 1 compression, which is not good. So we were leaving some power numbers on the table because of the fact of lack of compression. We were having a revving issue because of the lack of the coil bind, and it just physically wouldn't go anymore. So those are our problems. Now let me talk to you real quick about how we resolved those issues, and I'm going to address something to the comment section here on YouTube right now. Ideally, in a perfect world, the way you would fix this low compression issue is you would tear the whole thing down. You would cut the block so that you get the piston up in the hole, and you would change out the camshaft, and you would put it all back together again, and here we go. That's in an ideal world that doesn't have any bills. Unfortunately, if we were to take this thing down and swap out pistons and cut the block, you have to basically start your entire engine build all over again. You've got to take it all down, you've got to clean it, you've got to machine it, you've got to put it all back together again, you've got to reweigh your rotating assembly, which is not cheap. And all of those things are great, but they're not an option for us. In order to get this motor up and running, the best way to do this is to cut the heads down to decrease that combustion chamber, which increases our compression. So Bob, while we've been gone, has been cutting down those Edelbrock aluminum heads that are now sitting on the motor, and they've gone down from an 84cc chamber down to a 75cc chamber. That should give us our compression somewhere in the 10-to-1 range, which is very, very safe on aluminum, but should give us a lot more power out of what would essentially be just a set of bolt-on aluminum heads. It would have been okay, even with just running the 84s as they were, but we want to be able to squeeze out a bit more compression than what we already had. These do also have larger valves, intake and exhaust, than what the factory Motorhome Heads had. So we're hoping for some pretty decent numbers so far. As you can see, everything is all set up. Our Holley Sniper system, which is exactly what we're going to run this on the entire time. MSD Pro Billet distributor. Exact same headers. This is the same, this is the same, this is the same. Everything else is the same other than those Edelbrock heads. So we're going to get this thing fired up here in just a little bit, get it warmed up, and start running through its paces. And you guys can see it, and Katrina is finally able to see this thing make some good numbers and make some America sounds.
Yep.
And she's really happy.
I'm super excited because it's been a journey. It has been a journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been sitting on an engine stand for like 15 months.
Too long.
16
Too long.
months. Yeah.
Too long.
Yeah. So in order to make her happy, this thing's going to fire up. It's going to make good noises. It's going to make good numbers. And we're going to be very, very happy about it. And then we're going to get out of here and get it back to the car. So anyway, next thing you're going to see is this thing firing up and making America sounds. So I mentioned this in the other videos, and I'm going to mention it again here in case you didn't see those. What we've got to do now is actually get this thing up to temperature. Because these Sniper EFI systems are self-learning, they get up to an operating temperature, which in this case is 160 degrees, and then they go into a learning mode. In your car, you've only got a couple of gallons of coolant, not a big deal. In a dyno cell, you got a lot of gallons of water. It takes a while to warm that up. And until it's warmed up, it's in a factory-controlled mode. So unfortunately in our situation, it actually tends to foul out the spark plugs, which is really a big pain in the neck. So then we gotta pull the plugs out, clean the plugs, put the plugs back in. Anyway, it's fired up, obviously, as you can hear it. Life is good. We are getting up to temperature so it can get into its learning mode. And then, hopefully we can get somewhere with this thing. This has been a long process. Are you happier? fucking drain. Technical difficulties. We'll be right back. All right, technical difficulties are considerably, well, yeah, I'm soaked still. Yeah, so reprogrammed the Holly unit because for some particular reason it still was fouling out plugs. So we set it all the way back to factory original, reprogrammed it again, and now it seems like we're doing better. So we pulled the plugs out because they were still a little foul, and clean them up, put them back in, get this thing back up to temperature again and give it a pull. So far, we're making more power than we did last time, so that's good. But that wasn't really a very legitimate pull because, yeah. So, get her warmed up, let's do it again. Dyno days. You only get to do that once.
Stay there with that door open.
Sound-wise, did you hear a few more RPMs than you normally would hear from this thing? Our initial problem with this motor was the fact that it refused to rev. It just would not rev. No matter what you did, you could hang into the throttle and it would not, wouldn't go anywhere. Or if it did, it would just table off. It would not make any more power once it hit 4,200 RPMs. Well, that last pull, all the way up to 5,900 RPMs. And we've got a nice long sweep of power. So far we're up about 30 horsepower over where we were previously, and we've got a lot of additional adjustments that we can make.
A shirt for you, getting wet.
There you go. I got a $1,000 t-shirt.
Swag.
So we've got our rev issue figured out. That's no longer a problem because we're no longer hitting coil bind. These heads can actually allow up to 650 lift. So at a 550 lift camshaft between the camshaft and the rocker, we're all fixed. So now we got to figure out everything else and figure out how much power we can make out of this thing. But it's making power, and it sounds pretty good too.
Yes, it does.
Is that hot?
Yes. Damn it.
It's a hot rod, yes.
I'm going to check it and work it off.
Like it?
No. And then
Well, there we go. That's exactly why you run these things on the dyno first. Allows us to figure out what our issues are here. Fortunately, we didn't damage anything. No bent push rod, no problems at all. Readjusted everything and we're back in business. She's fired back up, no problems at all. It's getting better and better and better as we run it. Now, on that subject, the Holley Sniper system. This is why we love it, because it has the ability to pull data off of it. So we're learning and we're teaching that computer where the fuel needs to be, where the throttle needs to be, what it needs to have at different RPMs. And as we look at it, we can see the data where it's running a little bit rich, or it's running a little bit lean. And then as we get into the throttle, it's running too lean as we first spike it, and then it's starting to add fuel and it's actually starting to run rich. So the more we do that and the more we make those pulls on it, the better and better it's gonna get. So put a little bit more time on the motor, teach it a little bit more, keep pulling on it. Getting better and better.
Yeah.
It's getting better. Man, that sounded a lot better. All right, so 4,600 RPMs is where we're starting from, because it's revving so quickly through the RPMs now. 491 foot-pounds of torque. And so far we are at 5,400 RPMs, 472 horsepower. She's getting better.
Holy shit balls.
All right, so I've got my data here. Nice part about this is I can just literally come out here, plug it in my laptop, and get my data. And this is actually getting better and better and better as we run it. That's the beautiful part about this. We also haven't touched the timing at all yet. This is just set it to run it and hit it. So I'm liking it, and it's revving better. So much better. What we can see here is, so your target AFR is this aqua line. Your actual AFR is this purple line. Throttle is your green line. RPM is your red line. So it's still trying to figure this out, and it is a choppy camshaft, so that's kind of to be expected. So as he got into the throttle, right about here, so throttle here, that is 3,500 RPMs. It's right on target. It leans out, and then it starts to add fuel as he starts to ramp in the throttle further. So it adds fuel, adds fuel, adds fuel. AFR is coming down, coming down, coming down, and it actually fattens up here to the point where it's running 11.5 to 1. But again, this is because this computer is still learning. It's trying to get this purple squiggly line as close to that aqua line as it possibly can, and as you can see, it's getting much better. Pretty happy so far. And I'm in a dry shirt, so I'm even happier. But I'm real happy. This thing's starting to rev out to 6,000 RPMs without a problem now, and we're getting much more friendly numbers, exactly where I wanted to be with this thing. And it's only going to get better. we're learning, we're getting better, we're getting better. Data tables are showing us we're getting better and better and better. Just cracked the 500 foot-pounds of torque and blew right past it. So she's now at 520-ish foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, so this thing's gonna pull like a freight train. Now what you may notice is we're doing a lot of this, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to catch it on the low end, on the lower RPM range, because the initial pulls we were making were up in the 4,000 plus range, 4,500, 4,600 RPMs, and that's actually past peak torque for a lot of these kind of big blocks. What we're trying to figure out is grab it low enough so we can actually see peak torque and get that mapped in, and then, yeah, so things are going well, and we're getting better. It's cleaning itself up as far as our throttle goes. It's cleaning us up where the lean enriches, and everything looks good so far. So life is good. We're definitely making more power. We're gonna make one more pull, and then we'll talk about it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. We are. This sounds so good. Yeah. I'll start the lug whenever you're ready. Man, that sounds good. Nothing against the modern cars. I love me some Coyotes, some Hellcats, LS's. I do. But there's something visceral that gets down in your soul about how the old stuff sounds. Have fun?
Big difference.
Yeah. Big difference. Damn apples. How about damn apples? So, peak torque, 521.8 6 at 4,300 RPMs. Peak horsepower, 473.9 at 5,400 RPMs. That makes me happy. Does that make you happy?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy with that.
This is the way it should. This is the way it should have run.
Yeah.
So, life is good. It's running a lot better. This is exactly why we were talking about we need those RPMs back. Why I was so upset about the fact that it wouldn't hit the RPMs it was supposed to hit.
Right.
It was dying at 4,200 RPMs and wouldn't do anything more than that. And it was barely getting where it needed to be. This is why we've gone through all this. This is why we've spent tons more time and energy and money to get this motor running correctly, because I knew this thing had it in it to be able to do this, and it just wasn't right. So hopefully that makes sense to all you guys. Few little pieces of honesty here. This is basically 10-to-1 motor, maybe even a little less than 10-to-1, because we didn't want to cut any more meat off these heads, which leaves us more room for other things at some point in time in the future. Maybe. We'll see. Timing, completely exactly the same as it was at the old shop. We have not messed with timing at all, not even a degree, since we've been playing with all this stuff. This is purely just in fueling and getting it running right, and getting our compression up to where it's supposed to be. So, massive, massive improvement as far as horsepower goes. We went from 420 horsepower to 474 horsepower. We're up to 522, basically foot-pounds of torque. Much better. And the fact that it gives us a huge difference in rev range, that's really where it's going to make a difference. It's not necessarily the peak power numbers that are so important, it's the time under the curve. If you make peak power for half a second, that's really great. I'm super excited for you. But if you make peak power for 3 seconds, it's a whole different ball game, especially when you're racing. So that's why this has been so important. That's why we've been doing all this, and that's why Bob is awesome for getting this thing running right. Whew. Man. All right, give us a little bit to finish this all up, clean up. We'll do a little wrap up here for you. So excited. Much excited? Now you can actually put the motor in the car too. All right, so exciting conclusion. First of all,
Yes, sir.
thank you very much.
Man, you're very welcome. It was very enjoyable.
I cannot tell you enough how much I appreciate all of this. I mean, it's you and I have talked a bunch of times about the fact that it's all about honesty. You know, it's about being able to trust somebody and really believe in something. And you and I have talked considerably about the fact that you may not know all the answers to everything, and you're not going to pretend like you do.
Nope. I'm going to tell you what I know, what I feel.
Right. And in an engine builder, that's incredibly important to have. I really can't express this enough to you guys, that it's really important to be able to trust the person that you're handing your engine off to, or that's building your engine, to shoot straight with you. Don't blow a bunch of smoke up my butt. You know, don't say it's going to make 1,000,000 horsepower.
No. Majority of it's overrated.
Yeah. And, you know, if there's something you don't know, we figure it out.
Yep.
You know, that's unbelievably hard to find, and again...
And we learned a lot. I mean, we researched a lot.
We did.
Searched it out. Learned a lot what you may want to do and what you may not want to do.
And you're slightly happier, I would imagine?
Absolutely. It's just been so frustrating.
Yeah.
For everybody.
It really has.
You, him, me, the followers, people on YouTube, the people on Instagram, they're like, how's that engine going? I'm like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sorry it's taken so long, but...
No, I mean, you squeezed us in.
What I do takes time.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's so
art.
it's you burn up so many hours trying to tweak stuff to make it perfect.
It's 6:30.
Uh-huh.
We've been burning up hours since 9:30 this morning, and this is not the first day we've been here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just we thought we might have an oil pressure issue. So let's double check and then triple check and then quadruple check to make sure we don't have an oil pressure issue. We didn't end up having an oil pressure issue. We actually ended up having amazing oil pressure in it.
True.
But we were worried about it.
Yeah, well, and it wouldn't prime up.
Right.
So
So
we put a drill on it.
we spent 4 hours making sure that everything was copacetic as far as that went. And it makes fantastic oil pressure, and life is good, and it makes great power. So, again, thank you very much. This has been almost a 2-year process to get this motor built.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get this back in this car and get her back on the road. Finally able to enjoy that damn Charger.
Yes.
And it made more power than my Pontiac did. Which is great. So we got our rev range back, as I was saying. We got our rev range where it's supposed to be. This thing's going to pull like an absolute freight train all the way to 5,500 RPMs or so. And the really cool thing is, we were talking about off camera with the Holley sniper system, is it's learning as we drive. It's making peak torque, and it's rich. It's running 11.2 to 1 in our logs where it's making peak torque. So as that Holley learns its fuel tabling better, it's actually going to make more power than it is now. And the nice thing is, you don't have to do anything. You just drive the damn thing. So it makes great power now. It's going to actually make more power as we drive it, which is really, really nice. You don't have to change jets and accelerator pump shots and blah, 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 blah. All of those things you carburetor guys are interested in. I got to say, I am 100% happy with the Holley system.
Well, yep.
And you did the Flytech the other day.
I did Flytech a couple weeks ago, and I actually had done one about a year ago. And it's still truly amazing. All this stuff is with the technology we have.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not really all that hard to set it up.
And it's not that expensive when you have to start buying carburetors.
Yep, for sure. Well, and time involved in carburetor.
Yeah.
Go out and drive it. What does it feel like it was doing? Well, let's change jets.
And the worst thing about carburetors is the cold idle or cold start situations that people have. The other one I done went in a Roadster, and the fellow's wife was driving it. Well, she didn't, wasn't real cooperative with the choke system. So this was a fix.
Yep.
So
take that off, put this on.
Done, drive it.
Yep, for sure.
So,
yeah, I cannot be happier with how that Holley system worked out. Once we got all the situation figured out as far as what we needed to teach it to get it to learn correctly and be able to run right, I cannot say enough about that Holley situation. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. There's definitely going to be more about this. At this point in time, her car is actually going to be able to come into the shop and go back together again. So there's going to be all kinds of stuff with her being able to race this car and enjoy this car, go to car shows, all that kind of fun stuff. This is not a race car, people. This is actually a street car that she's going to be driving, and it makes a boatload of power.
We're in a gray area.
Maybe more racing now than there was before.
In a gray hair.
So thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this 451 Mopar. I guess we'd call it a rebuild.
Series. It's been a series.
Mini-series.
Yes.
There's a lot more that's going to be coming for you on this channel. Please do click on the subscribe button if you haven't already. We appreciate new subscribers. We appreciate all of you who are previous subscribers at event here cheering us on through all of this and enjoying the pain that we all have been enduring. Drop a comment in the comment section below. What do you guys think? What are you guys excited about? What do you think she's going to be able to do with her Charger? What would you like to see next? If you made it this far in the video, click on the like button because you already made it this far, and it lets YouTube know that you're actually paying attention, and we appreciate that. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.